Spoilers ahead. This is your one and only warning. Leave now or forever hold your peace, because we're shooting blindly in these streets. And now, a Japan Time Podcast special presentation.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to another Japan Time Roundtable. This time, we'll be talking about Sonic Movie 3. Now, I know I personally have been wanting to talk about this for ages, but we delayed it a bit because a bunch of stuff was going on, the fires and Christmas and all that. So now, we're finally here and able to talk about the movie. So joining me today, I have Viram.
What's good, everybody?
I have Fidel.
Hello, hello, hello.
I have Roger.
What is up, everybody? Hello.
And a guest for today, the recurring guest, we have Wisdom Meal.
I got my Sonic Rice Krispie treat.
They make those?
Sonic Rice Krispie treats. I didn't even know they made those.
Yeah, and that's fire.
That's a little insensitive. You're bringing that up right now,
me.
Fidel, considering
sorry,
the fact I'm in
forgot.
Los Angeles. A
You're
little
right,
insensitive.
sorry.
You're starting
I'm
us off on
sorry.
the wrong foot, buddy.
I'm really sorry. You're burning alive as we speak. I'm
So,
sorry.
Wait,
man.
just to clarify for
so
people
sorry.
listening, I'm so sorry I did that to you. For people who are listening to the VOD of this afterwards, by the way, too, we literally planned this out. Fidel had the wrong day and was doing a live stream reminiscing about Switch 2 as we were about to get the spoiler cast started. So if this is a wild beginning to our spoiler cast, just know this is why things were a little off. But we got a lot of stuff to discuss. It's going to be a good conversation. I feel like, Fidel and I, we already did our video sort of talking about our spoiler thoughts on the movie, but we haven't had the chance to talk with McDareth, to talk with Viram, to talk with Wisdom. So this is your one and only spoiler warning. Again, it's titled SpoilerCast. If you click on this and it's called SpoilerCast and you're complaining about spoilers, well, in the words of Reggie Fils-Aimé, former president of Nintendo, what's wrong with you? We're getting started in 3, 2, 1, go. Amy and Metal Sonic, bro.
Maybe a Metal
What do
Sonic
you
in the
think of
movie,
this?
bro. That's what I'm
Sonic was
saying,
peak.
man.
I'm
It was
definitely
peak, I fear.
super excited because it's I definitely called it though, but I was definitely thinking Metal Sonic would show up because it makes the most sense if Jim Carrey actually does retire. Where do you go from there? Well, Metal Sonic's an angle they haven't touched yet, and he looks so cool. They just took video game Metal Sonic but added more detail to him to make him feel more realistic, but he looks so sick. And then it's okay, so the Shadow trailer at the end of Sonic 2, seeing people get all excited about Shadow, you get it. But the amount of people just for Amy Rose who are super excited just to see her finally in this universe, they have something here. They don't drop it.
You know what it is as well? They made her look like a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
She just looks like
she
a
looks
badass.
awesome.
I
said
her
this
whole
a
thing
lot,
covered in. Oh, go for it. Go on.
I was gonna say, I said this a lot before the movie came out. Is I feel like if the post credit was just Amy, a lot of people would be like, "Hell yeah!" Some good reactions. But I think it's the fact that it kicks off with Metal. You're like, "Holy shit!" You think it's Metal, and then Amy is I feel like the pop off is bigger because you just think it's Metal, and then you sort of think it's over when that explosion happens. You think it's gonna cut and be done. But then you get, the moment with all the medals, and then Amy pulls up as the final shot. I think that hits it way harder for that,
I'm glad it didn't just
Absolutely.
end with just metal.
Yeah.
I am wondering, because you brought this up when we were at the premiere, by the way, a little bit of a flex there, but you brought this up when we were at the premiere about how you think that they're not going to go the angle of Amy still having a big crush on Sonic, and that they might actually reverse it for the next movie. You think Sonic might be the one to have the crush on Amy?
I think they're gonna. I think because Sonic in this universe is a dad and parents, there will be a bit more of that. Hey, she's kind of cute. I think she likes you, and I think she'll have a crush on him. But I think it won't be like Sonic's ugh, gotta go. He is a bit more human in this universe. So I think they'll build up them having a bit of a romance. I don't think it's gonna be hella emphasized because it's a movie universe. They're not gonna push it that far, but they'll have cute moments together.
like a Sonic Boom dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Sonic Boom worth watching?
No.
Okay, thank you very much for being
Just
honest.
watch
No problem.
clips of the funny jokes.
Yeah, just watch funniest moments in Boom on
All right.
YouTube and you're good.
All
You'll
right.
get your
I will say though, I haven't watched much of the show, but for the game, that Sonic Boom was the thing that made me care more about Amy, because I feel like she was written way better in that than she's been written in any Sonic game before then. Because I
Yeah.
always felt like her only personality is that she wants to chase after Sonic, which is kind of lame. It always made her feel lame. But now that she's actually a character with her own, her own goals and everything, she feels much more interesting as a character.
So then, do you
Yeah.
think that Amy in this movie, or in Sonic 4 specifically, like with the way that they were doing things with multiple Metal Sonics and having Amy, do you think they're going to kind of do like a weird mix of CD and Heroes? Because that's kind of, that's how it
Yeah.
feels to me.
I
'Cause
100% think
I
Force
think
have
like
Metal Overlord.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Metal
I
Overlord would
do
be the
too.
big finisher, and I think it's gonna be almost like a reverse CD, where like now Amy is saving Sonic from Metal.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
almost feel like
Yeah.
they could go a Terminator route, because way Metal appears screams Terminator, and Amy's
Sure.
almost like a Sarah Connor stand-in with the way she's helping him. I don't know they're gonna
Yeah.
go full Terminator, because then it'd be like, oh, Amy comes from the future, and then you're dealing with something else. But they might be like, Amy's planet was attacked, but that also doesn't make sense. He has to be made by Eggman. I don't know.
think time travel is involved because
Yeah.
So my big thing is I think I'd be shocked if time travel is involved because one, they're doing CD. Two, a lot of, if you see it, there's concept art of movie 3 where it was initially going to have time travel. Like the eclipse cannon was gonna hit the Earth. And it seemed like there was even like in some of the storyboard things you see like text that says like time travel, and so I think it was something they dabbled in, but ultimately are saving it. Because I think that's the only thing that makes sense. There was no real. There could have been some time where Agent Stone built metal, but I feel like them doing a time travel style makes a lot more sense. They could also just do it that like, yeah, it's in Sonic's world. But I think they can get away with some time travel shenanigans.
Do you
'Cause
think it's
also
going to be
gonna
something?
like CD?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think it's gonna be something similar to, like, you know how in CD you hit the sign and it's like past or future, and then when you
That'd be
run really
awesome.
fast, you like jump? I'm
I
wondering
would
if it's
love
like
some.
something related to like Robotnik
I
technology or something,
I
right?
would love something like that where like they like in order for them to go in the future, Sonic has to get to a certain speed.
That's what I'm
To
saying. Right,
activate
right.
like a different port. That'd be fire. That'd be a good nod to CD. I think like yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna be. They've also said they're interested to go to other planets. So I think the big thing about next movie with a bigger budget is I think they'll be able to get off Earth for a bit and maybe do more like CG like areas and big sets. In different like Sonic areas, which I think would be very cool if
Hey,
they
they're gonna
do.
cut Tom's screen time to like 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's
Sonic
funny
Coaster movie
as you
5.
trace the movies, they're becoming less about the humans in the new world they tried to make and just becoming more and more about the games, but they're also doing
Mhm.
better as they do that.
For sure, most definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
But
was
even
gonna
with
say
that
like
point, I feel like the way that Tom and Maddie were integrated into this film, I thought worked really well.
I agree.
I
Yeah.
feel like they
Mm-hmm.
had like just enough screen time, just enough of a purpose, such that they felt complementary to the film. It didn't feel disruptive like the big wedding scene in
Yeah.
the second movie.
And they
Well,
stopped
I
right
mean-
before they would have gotten like kind of annoying.
in general, like this movie is like it's like boom, 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 boom. It's literally 15 minutes in, Shadow's already broken out. They're literally going to Japan. They go to the egg, they go, to the gun base, London, then it's like lock in a clock at the end. Like they just straight up it's just go, go, go the entire movie. I think they found a good balance this time around of like having the humans, yeah, like Primetime saying in chat, like having humans, but making sure the humans are like the main ones. Like it is Tom and Maddie, which are the main
Yeah.
ones. It is the
And
Eggmen,
the way
which are the main ones.
we talked about this when we saw the movie too, right? Was the thing where they integrated Maddie's sister and her husband in a really good way too, right? Like where I think when people were watching that initial trailer and you see the two of them, you're like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah,
Oh, brother.
exactly.
But actually, the way it was done was cute. It was like a nice callback
Very
to people
cool.
to watch too. I even think like the thing they did with Wade, right? With him
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it was
holding
awesome.
the Master Emerald was actually
Great
perfect.
payoff.
That was funny.
Great payoff to the Knuckles show watchers,
Yeah.
And it's perfect because I've always said like Wade perfect in 30-second doses. I don't need Wade on screen for more than 5 minutes, which is the problem with the Knuckles show. So having it just be like he's protecting the town, little funny bit with him, I'm fine with that. Wade could have killed Sonic in one hit, but he held back. Exactly, actually. That is true. That is true.
Wade killed Sonic.
That is
I do
100% true.
I do wonder too. I mean, this is maybe a good topic to bring up at this point, right? But like the idea of like power levels and power scaling and like what this movie ended up being, right? With it being essentially like a Dragon Ball film, with them going Super Saiyan at the ending and everything, and also like going from, you know, world destruction tones into like
Mm-hmm.
goofy one-off little jokes. It felt like a Dragon Ball movie in a way I feel like the other
100%.
Sonic movies haven't. And I've also just felt like the way they handled Shadow's transformation at the end was just perfectly done.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
just Shadow is handled incredibly well in this movie. I mean, I think like genuinely, I think it's one of my favorite iterations of Shadow, where he is serious the whole time. He doesn't turn into like I'm dumb and lost. Like he straight up just is admittedly revenge driven the entire movie. He gets flashes to his past with Maria, just like in the game. And he's also, I mean, he's ready to die. Like, you know, he's right when Sonic's about to cook him, he's like, do it. Like he's ready to,
Take the
you know,
shot.
die there. Yeah, get shot. And so I feel like he and that's at like the 2 times he jokes, it's like hilarious because it's like even when he's joking, he's like dead serious. Which I think is really good.
Revenge Guac had us
Reve-
crying in the theater.
Yeah,
dude.
the theater was losing it.
Yeah, that one's
Um,
funny.
Yeah. Let's
Well,
see.
you were
I mean,
gonna.
Semeng,
I was
yeah.
gonna say you were gonna say something earlier. Someone cut you off or something, and you were gonna mention something after the conversation with Metal about like the future of the series. Like, I guess maybe this is also something we talked about in the
Yeah.
video that we did, but I think I would like to hear from the other Japan Time guys. Right? Is I think going into this movie, there was somewhat of an expectation that Metal would be the thing that would get Sonic and Shadow to kind of work together because there was this assumption that like there's not going
Right.
to be anything Bio Lizard, you're not going to get Black Doom. You get
Yeah.
that clip in the trailer of like the fake out with
Yeah.
Robotnik and the Quill and Sonic giving him the Quill, where it's like, oh,
Yep.
that's what's going to power Metal Sonic. So that not actually being the thing and them doubling down and making Gerald the villain, I actually thought was like pretty surprising
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
into this.
I was gonna because we talked about it too. Is like I think if they had done the Bio Lizard in this movie, I think a lot more like critics would have not liked. I think they would have been like, oh, it just ends with generic CG monster. Whereas I think just doing it with the Eclipse cannon makes it so that it's still focused on Sonic and Shadow saving the day, and then you know Gerald and Eggman doing their thing. You know, I think
Totally agree.
the Bio Lizard, but I like that the Bio Lizard still technically makes Shadow question who he is because they see him as an like he watches that old school black and white movie, and like the alien is like, am I like that thing in that movie, right? And so it's still technically part of his story, which I thought was a very smart use of it.
And making it look like the classic Godzilla monster, I thought was a super
Yes,
cute touch.
absolutely.
I
What
also
were you
think
gonna
so
say, Viram?
dynamic.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, Wisdom and then Viram.
I think it since they didn't team up and battle a big thing in the end. I think that's why once again lean on Metal Overlord in the final movie because that's something that they
Yeah,
would have to team up against. So I don't. It would be really weird if like they had to team up against just Metal Sonic.
yeah.
I was
Viren?
actually just thinking about how so like Shadow obviously he's in the movie a decent amount, but he's not in it like as much as you would think, considering that it's essentially his movie. And I
Yeah.
feel like actually that reflects exactly how it was in Sonic Adventure 2, where you know he only has 4
Yes.
stages in that game, and he doesn't have a ton of moments, but every moment that he has is memorable
It's
and
cool,
iconic, and
yeah.
he's just every time he's on the screen, it's like one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, you always gotta miss Shadow. I feel like that's what makes Shadow really cool. Is like whatever
Mm.
he says and does is really like impactful and cool. And so I feel like yearning for his moments is so important. You know?
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add, I had this up earlier, but that Jeff Fowler, so the director of the movie, also
Mhm.
was a part of the CGI team on working on Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yep.
So like his name is
Yes.
just in the credits for that game. So it's very obvious this guy really likes his character,
Oh.
and there's definitely a lot of love put into it. And I also agree that the second Gerald was
Or, like,
alive, I thought for sure that they're just gonna position Gerald as the villain, and we weren't gonna get Bio Lizard. And then they can just focus on it that way.
Yeah. I was like, I was surprised again. Like, obviously, there's been like, there's been some back and forth about like you know, Eggman and Gerald, like how much
Yeah.
like screen time they took in their relationship. I think like as I've watched it again, it's not as disruptive as I thought. Like really, it kind of just like that moment, you know, where they're being weird and like Mantis attacking each other and stuff is like it lasts like a minute 20 seconds before it cuts back to Sonic. So it's not like that bad really. Um but I think I mean I don't know how did you guys feel about the Gerald and Eggman stuff because I've talked about it a lot.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
will say
liked
it's
it.
funny. Yeah, you bring up the mantis robot scorpion thing at the very ending. Like, I just recently on the flight back from the holidays was playing through Sonic Origins, and I got to like the level where you have those mantis enemies that throw you the
Oh,
thing, and I'm like, oh, is this what that was supposed to
that's
be?
what I thought it was.
Yeah, I think that's actually, if
Slices.
that's the case, it makes me appreciate it slightly more, but I still think like you could have easily done that portion with the Eclipse Cannon at the end of the movie without the weird interjection of them
Yeah.
fighting. And it
Yeah.
could have literally just been the thing of like Gerald taking his legs out, Robotnik falling down, Tails with the save, and then him like bug zappering it. Because
Yeah.
the bug zapper death, I actually thought was
It's
funny.
hilarious. No,
Yeah,
it is funny. It
that was well
genuinely is
done.
fun.
But the like actual confrontation with the two of them fighting with the robot arms, I think was the only thing in that entire like final portion that stood out to me as not good. Whereas
I
like
agree.
Sonic and Shadow, dude, Super Sonic, Super Shadow, flying through the sky, the chaos spears and everything, like
It's so good, man.
incredible.
Now you
10
got
out
the
of
gun
10.
robots in
I-
there too, using that.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I kind of thought about it.
I think it's part of it is just like kind of the disparity between that and like the Robotnik's fight is just
Yeah.
like, you know,
It's crazy.
you're not gonna top Sonic and Shadow flying through space,
Exactly.
tearing through gun robots. It's
Do you
too
think they
cool.
did that to break up Live and Learn? 'Cause it seems like they, with everything going on,
Yeah.
with that, it seemed like they did the legal like 30-second sample and then
They
had to break
did.
it apart.
I
No,
think
because
it's
I
with Gerald
think
and Eggman works sometimes. Jim Carrey could definitely be a little much, but the casual audience loves it. It's hard to bounce. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that Jim Carrey's humor was good in the movie. Like he does a good job. He's funny. But
Yeah.
again, it's like there's a lot of it. Whereas if you are somebody that just does not appreciate like the Ace Ventura kind of like the Mask early 90s
Yeah.
Jim Carrey kind of vibe, you are not going to enjoy it. But I have seen from a lot of people, like a lot of other reviewers, shout out Dan Morell if you guys ever watch Dan. He was from Screen Junkies and he's like not a Sonic the Hedgehog like video game person at all. But in his review of Sonic 3, he said his favorite part of the movie, and he's like, again, he's like a film reviewer. He is not a
Yeah.
video game person.
Was Jim
He
Carrey?
said his favorite part of the movie was the dance sequence that you and I were both like groaning about
Yeah.
watching the movie.
Did
no,
not.
that
Yeah.
thing was
People love
hilarious.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
And
that
that
was
made me
Love
hilarious.
Jim
realize
Carrey
that
stuff,
like
man.
that made me realize that like, yeah, there are a lot of people watching this who are watching it for that 90s Jim Carrey humor and like could
Yeah.
give less of a shit about Shadow and like the ties to the video games, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, because I think that thing is like people. I guess you'll forget how much like Jim Carrey is like a parent, like especially adult like type of draw. Like my mom, when she
Yeah.
sees, she's like,
Yep.
"Oh, Jim Carrey! Like that's the Jim Carrey movie thing he's doing." You know, like that's the type of thing. I know if I took my mom to that movie, she'd be laughing about the Jim Carrey stuff.
A film
And so,
icon
yeah,
for people over 35.
It's literally, quite literally
Yeah,
that.
right,
It's
right.
that kind of a feel. But at least I will take that with him being Eggman over like again like something like the wedding scene where it's like made for the older people, but they're characters that have nothing to do with the main plot. At least with Eggman and Gerald, it's silly, but it's still Eggman frontwards in front of the camera doing his thing. You know, he always ties to the main plot, which is
Yeah.
good.
It also didn't go on for like 20 minutes.
Exactly. What were you gonna say, McDermott?
Oh, I was gonna say I don't like. I thought this was like one of Jim Carrey's best performances. Like I honestly
agree.
watching this movie, I sometimes forgot. I mean, I get he's playing both. Like, if I'm really thinking about it, if I'm just watching the movie, sometimes I forget it's one actor playing both these characters because like the way
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
playing
it's
off himself
crazy.
is so good.
It is actually insane. Something that the writers spoke about is that they were scared about how serious the movie was and tried to balance the humor out because kids, yeah, I mean, obviously it's Sonic Adventure 2's story like is really can be dark, you know, and I think they did a good job with like really like having those sad moments with like Shadow's backstory while balancing like the comedy aspects and heart. I feel like the movie did everything. Like it had raw action. It had its sad moments. It had its hype moments. It had its fun moments. It had its human moments. Like I feel like they really, I would honestly be shocked if movie 4 tops it because I really feel like this is such a, it's so perfect how they did it, man.
How do you feel how they interpreted Maria's death and how they made it explosion
That
instead of
explosion.
taking straight hit?
Yeah, I feel
It's
like
just a
that
straight
was
shot.
the best way they
That had
could
to
do it
happen.
and keep their rating.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I will say like I don't care that she died by an explosion. It's fine as long the whole point is her dying and because of gun. But I think her not having the illness is definitely like a different a choice. Now granted like in the games the whole reason like her illness is tied to them being on the Ark and the Ark is in space, but here like they live in a gun base on Earth. I think against something like the illness and her dying might have been against something of too dark for the movies. Like it would have been a little bit much.
Why? Just curious. Now that
yeah.
I'm thinking back on it, I just maybe I'm forgetting or remembering incorrectly. I thought
Really
in the
is.
movie when she gets to the gun base, like where you first see her for the first time, and she's roller skating around, and the guy's like saying, "Hey, maybe don't roller skate in here." I thought she had mentioned, or there was like a mention that she was there because of her illness. Did I just like
No,
make that up?
they
No,
say she's there
there
because
was
Gerald
Gerald.
brings her everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Because I assume her parents are still not around in this universe.
That's crazy. I'm so used to that character and that story that they didn't even have to
Yeah.
mention it, and I just assumed they were still going with it then.
I don't know.
I mean, they
Cinderella
emphasize that whole thing in the animated shorts
Yeah, right.
prior
Yeah,
to
right.
Shadow Generations.
Yeah, so the only thing I would have liked from the flashback, if anything, is you know when they did that fun flashback where they were showing them dancing and hanging out. It would have been nice to have like a singular scene with Gerald, like a younger Gerald, because like it does come off weird that the only time you see Gerald in the past with Maria is when they're like, "Let's go, kids, we have to leave," and it's like, well, we didn't see you at all hanging
Right,
out.
we
Like,
didn't. That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't get
I
a
feel
full
like they could have
scene.
they could have fit that in during like
Yeah.
the portion where it's kind of like the ghost part, right? Where
Yeah,
Shadow's going boo
absolutely.
and they're walking through the old abandoned facility. And that
Absolutely.
does seem weird that you bring that up now. I haven't even thought about that. That
Yeah.
the only time you see him is already past the climax of the movie where they're in the eclipse cannon and he's about to awaken it for the first time.
Yep.
That's kind of nuts. Yeah.
I think Gerald flashbacks are saved for future to milk Shadow's lore. That's true. They could still milk a bit more of Shadow's lore because even in the movie, in this universe, it's not that Gerald created him; he's an alien, and so there's technically a window open for like Black Doom and that kind of plot line if they want to go with it eventually, right?
One thing I'll say about that is because Gun Commander, if I'm not wrong, Gun Commander is the one that told them that, right? So we already know that the Gun Commander partially withheld information from them, so he could have not told them the full story of Shadow, so they can still expand upon that. Even the thing they dig up looks like the Black Comet, so they can still
literally,
go that way if they want to.
He straight up pulls out of a Black Comet, and I don't know. Like I said, with this movie universe, I do feel like a villain like Black Doom might be a little. A lot.
I agree.
You know,
Imagine like,
Salvador's
trying to
Davidson
explain
said-
this to, like, someone on the street.
I mean, I think they just call
Well,
him
they
Doom.
could do an
I think
alien
If
planet.
they wouldn't
Yeah.
do that, I think they drop the black part.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, you could have it like they look like symbiotes, you know, something like that. Yeah, they are technically all aliens, which is true. Black Doom would be a difficult one, but there's that. How do you guys like Team Sonic's dynamic? Because I thought it was really cool having them be a team in the movie, and I feel like we haven't really gotten Team Sonic talking and having
like
banter with
interacting?
each other.
No,
Yeah,
I think it was great, especially like now that Tails isn't just fanboying the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's like a trio of brothers.
He's not like, yeah.
I did love that moment too. Again, going back to that scene where they're in like the abandoned gun facility where Tails is walking with Agent Stone, and Agent Stone just like, you are adorable,
You're
and he goes,
adorable.
well, we're all best friends, and you know, it's just like you and Eggman, right? I love Tails in
That
this
scene
movie.
is so good.
He's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Sonic and Knuckles fighting too. I feel like again that's like the very sibling coded relationship they have. Is like they get into an argument, but you know Knuckles takes the mature stance, be like, you know what, go ahead. Like I will get mad at you for doing this, you know, but if you think you have to do it, go ahead.
I will also say, as a little bit of behind the scenes during the premiere, I was sitting
Yeah.
literally right next to Fidel because I wanted to see his reactions. And during that moment when Sonic and Knuckles are like fighting with each other in the back and forth, bro, I felt your soul like actually coming out of your body during that portion where you thought they were gonna fight for a second, where the eyes are glowing, and you're sitting there. I gotta paint this picture for people. He's sitting there gripping the handles of the chair in the theater, going ah, ah, and like building up like he's going Super Saiyan. Up until that moment, it was so funny, and I wish other people.
I know, dude. I wish that entire
I wish you could have
reaction was
recorded, bro.
Recorded, bro.
Oh my god, we gotta ask Sega or something if they filmed
I
like
know,
audience
man.
reactions, because like that was so funny.
No, the Super Saiyan version, I was literally, I mean, I was jumping. I was screaming. I couldn't. I was gone. Different human being I was at that moment.
I mean, you theorized
like,
even before the film that we were probably going to get a supersonic scene because there was that one scene in the trailer where there's like a, I don't know, like a flash or something.
Yeah, there was
and
like
a
and people zoomed it in and saw 2 flashes flying towards the arc, or what we thought was the arc.
There's also the McDonald's toys.
Also the crazy the McDonald's toys, right? But also the crazy edit with the trailer too, right? Where Shadow does that line where they're already in like the destroyed out area. It ends now.
Oh my god!
And at that point, Sonic is already Supersonic, and Shadow is about to go Super Shadow, or he is already when he says that.
So in the trailer,
in
the trailer he's regular Shadow, but in the film he's Super Shadow.
So good, man.
So cool.
What a good fake out, genuinely.
Oh, so good.
Because like when he blocks Sonic, like the ground is broken under him, and it's so anime in the best way. Like even like their fight is just so. I was shocked at how anime it was. Like they are punching each other to pyramids, onto mountains. So like Shadow goes to the punch, Sonic blocks it, like pushing him. Like you're seeing them teleport to different areas on Earth, like crazy.
I think it's a good way to showcase the power of like the super form. Like how I feel like in the games, you get Sonic needs it to beat the final boss, but I don't feel like till Frontiers you really felt like how strong Super Sonic is supposed to be.
Also, just generally in the games, we don't have the super forms fighting against each other, really. Like,
never.
So, I think the last time where you kind of got a sense of that was like what, Sonic X, maybe?
Yeah, Sonic X for like a little bit.
Yeah, so
a little bit.
It's kind of it's almost like relatively new territory. I mean, because we already saw the power of Supersonic in the second film and how they were portraying how kind of magnificent he was, and to have a being of equal measure then have to fight him just leads to like a really electric scene, and I just thought it was awesome. It was just amazing.
I
thought, I mean, that entire segment is beautiful. Like even obviously that moment everyone's been talking about, just like Shadow taunting Sonic, right? Feeling like, why are you alone? Where are your friends? You abandoned them, you didn't abandon them, didn't you? In pursuit of revenge. Just that whole segment is beautiful, because even like the way like Shadow is just like floating above him is so like creepy and so cool. He's just like, I thought you cared for him, especially the one. What's his name?
Dude, what's his name?
That was so good.
Fire. I will also just say, like, while we're on the topic of this, dude, like Keanu Reeves is a funny guy, right? Like, and the way that he reads out certain lines, if you're watching something like a John Wick, like, well, in this movie particularly, it's so good. But like, for example, in the last John Wick movie, right? Some of his line deliveries, his action is incredible, but his line deliveries, I'm like, I don't know about this. But the line delivery works in this movie perfectly, man. As Shadow.
Well. What do we have here?
Oh, you're joining us.
What? You like the Sonic movie, man?
I didn't even know you saw it.
Yeah, how'd you like the Sonic movie, man?
He came in and bounced. He said, "I want
fucking crazy, bro."
But back to the Shadow scene, I had a really surreal experience. I was like, "This is a fantastic. How did we get here from that original Sonic design?"
I know.
100%.
Yeah. I know. If you had told me 5 years ago we'd be at a point where we're seeing like Super v Super fights with Doom spears and them, dude, the co-fight together, I'm so happy like they got Live and Learn in, even with the vocals, even with that, just like, I think they knew that people needed it. They knew that like, You just had to have the music. They did the pose. Like they did the things that like you dream of and say like like whenever they do a gay movie or an anime thing or something, you're like, they have to do this, but they don't do it.
Yep.
I feel like here they did
Yeah.
it. It's
I mean,
like
that
a
was
few instances in life where they do it.
that was one of our criticisms with the previous couple of films, that they didn't really
Mhm.
capitalize enough on the music, and
Yep.
for them to actually do it here was excellent, honestly.
Very good.
Even
Yeah.
even the way that they were integrating it into the regular score of the film, right? Like
Yeah,
from the
Mm.
acoustic version of
100%.
Live and Learn in the beginning with Maria,
Yep.
Yeah.
like some of the little hints of City Escape that you get in there.
Yeah, the
It's,
song
there's a
Gun
lot of
Control.
great moments.
Eggman's
Right.
theme is just straight
Right.
up there.
Eggman's
Like,
theme. Yep.
yeah,
The
because
one thing, actually,
Yeah.
well, not to cut you off, but the one
no,
thing
yeah.
I will say in terms of a music track, I wish that they would have used is, this movie does a really good job of like capturing the story beats that need to be captured from Sonic Adventure
Mhm.
2 and condensing them into like what makes sense for like a 2-hour film. But
Yeah.
God, and we talked about this during the movie too, like that bit at the gun facility where they're actually like doing the I'm a spy trying to get the
Yes.
codex thing or whatever for the Eclipse cannon. I thought for sure they were going to play Security Hall or something to that extent,
Oh,
like
that would have been
That would've
banging.
been cool.
something of like Security Hall or I'm a spy or like something alluding to Rouge at all. And the fact that there was none of that when there was all
I
this hype
know.
leading up to Kristen Ritter's character,
Yeah, I
and
thought
then
for
all this
sure.
stuff with
Yeah.
the hologram, I'm like, she must be like a hologram gun member, but it's actually
Yeah.
Rouge. And even like the moment where she takes the thing from what's the main guy's name that dies at the Chow Garden?
The Olive Garden guy.
The
Commander
gun,
Walters.
Olive Garden
yeah,
guy.
Commander Walters.
Mm.
Yeah.
Commander Walters. When she shows up and takes or she's like looking for the key in Commander Walters' thing. At that point, I was already like, oh,
Yeah.
she's like a hologram of Rouge or something.
I think she's
Or-
not done. I think there's more with her.
Yeah.
I feel like she was easily the most undercooked,
the
underdeveloped
best.
thing in the movie. Yeah.
I feel like they could turn like that could be the stinger if they still want to go that route. End of movie 4 is have her like have it dispel and have it be Rouge. Like they could still do that, but
They could still do that, but it almost feels like if we're already in the direction where we're doing Sonic CD and we're doing Sonic Heroes, I cannot imagine them fitting Rouge into that film. And I almost feel like if we're dealing with time travel in Sonic 4, that the obvious stinger for 4 would be
yeah,
Silver.
Silver.
for 5.
Yeah.
Silver or Blaze
Silver
or
or
something.
Blaze, yeah.
So you're kind of already missing the boat to have Rouge integrated
Yeah.
in some type of like reasonable
wait a minute.
fashion.
I just thought like with Fidel saying they want to do other planets, that's such a good way to do Blaze. If they have to go to Blaze's world
There
instead
you
of
go,
a different
sure.
dimension, that's such a
Well,
good way of
'cause-
doing that.
I also feel like Sonic CD is so stylish. Like that whole game, I feel like is carried by style because it has a lot of level design issues, but like it's entirely carried by style, the aesthetic, how cool it looks. And so like having an area that looks like Little Planet, like the intro from CD, or an area that looks like Stardust Speedway, something like a little bit more ridiculous to fit Sonic CD's like theme. Like even Heroes, like aesthetically, style wise, is like so good. I really hope they go to some other planet for movie 4. I think that would help it a lot.
Also, I'm seeing you guys in the chat saying you think that Rouge might be in the Shadow show.
Yeah.
Do you think they would?
there's-
Do you think they would actually implement like a big major character like that in a TV show?
I feel like I feel like Rouge is a character that like could fit a TV show because I feel like Rouge
Yeah.
is popular, but it's not like she's like, oh, I need to be debuted in a post-credit scene type thing.
I mean,
Um,
couldn't you argue
she's
the
not a
same for Amy
character.
before?
No, Amy
I
is way
think
bigger
Amy-
than Rouge.
Amy's the one
The thing
made for
is-
characters.
I think Amy is a character that can drive a story much more than Rouge can. Rouge
I
is a
agree with
character
that,
that
yeah.
serves as
Okay.
like a subplot / subsidiary
Yeah.
character. And I think I agree that she would fit perfectly in a TV show. It's the reason why I think
Yes, B.
for movies after the fourth Sonic movie, of course we'll talk about this in later discussions, but like Blaze and Silver to me are like the two characters that make the most sense
Easily.
in the roster as like
Yeah.
future movie focused characters.
My assumption
Yeah,
is both of them would be in the same movie though. Like you wouldn't do a Blaze movie without Silver and vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they're tied. But with I mean, Amy is as much as I love Rouge, like Amy is still like a character that a lot of like casuals be like, oh, that's like the girl Sonic. That's like the penguin. She's always there. Whereas Rouge is when you start to enter the territory of like, okay, the fans know and love Rouge, but like it's not like your mom or like an adult or a random would know who Rouge is.
Yeah.
So
Wait, where is people are saying that Chaotix is confirmed to be in Knuckles season
it's
2?
no,
What?
it's rumored that the rumors that the season 2 of the Knuckles show is gonna introduce the Chaotix, and we know. And we know the
Crazy.
Chaotix. I know, and we know the Chaotix exists because before movie 2, they released a canon comic for the movie where like you could see the Chaotix in the background. So they exist in the movie universe. But it's just a matter of like actually showing them. Now again, Chaotix should be like a bit. That'd be a crazy one. But I also feel like again, Chaotix are also a perfect TV show type character.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Like Chaotix, I could see being TV show characters for
Yeah.
sure. Bro,
Hey, yeah.
Charmy, Espio, and Vector
Oh, God,
in the
that'd be
movie
crazy.
universe
On
is
the big screen.
insane.
I
That would be
really hope
insane.
that they come with the Sonic Heroes energy above all else.
Oh,
Yeah.
please. I would
TV
love
show.
that.
It'd be awesome, man.
Oh, man.
Also, dang,
Seth Rogen.
Sonic didn't get chased by a semi truck in this movie.
He did not get checked, but
He
he
did
does
not,
jump
no.
out the helicopter and he does say the line. So that's all
He
that
says
matters.
the line. Yep.
He says no food or movie. I'll
Yep.
tell you what, that was one of my biggest freakouts when he said
That was a good moment.
no food or movies, I'm out of here. Cause that's
Yeah.
all I genuinely was like, you need that in. I was free. I was like, what a cool way to take. I feel like they made the OG City Escape like opening scene like cool in its own way. Cause obviously the
Agreed.
original has that line and he jumps down with the board, which I think is raw. But I feel like the way they did it here was still so cool. Them diving
Yeah.
down together, all
Yeah, going as a
confident.
team.
Yeah, because it essentially also it also skips the entire first level of SA2, right? Because the whole thing is
Yeah.
instead of surfing through it, and then you have the fight with the giant gun thing, and then it goes to Shadow showing up. You're just already there. You're already at the moment post battling the gun boss, and
Yeah.
Shadow's there, and Tails and Knuckles are with him. It's cool.
Yep, I agree.
And that still has a lot of references in it. Like even that moment, I know you guys mentioned like that one guy that was an animator that also worked on the opening of Shadow the Hedgehog. Like you get
Yes.
that bit
Oh no,
where when
not
Shadow
animator. That's director. That's the director.
Oh,
Yeah,
director.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
Chef
so the
Dollar.
director. When he
Yeah.
when he hits Sonic and you get that moment that's like
He
beat
does,
for
yeah, the
beat
feint.
from the
Yep.
opening
Oh,
of
yes.
Shadow the Hedgehog
Yeah,
where it
I
is the
love
feint.
that.
I thought was
Yeah.
great.
He replied to me. I tweeted and pointed that out, and the director replied to it like a little wink. He knew.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah,
He knew.
he knew he was doing that 100%. Even like the gun thing, obviously, like it was so because even like in the trailer they show him holding the gun, but in the movie he actually fucking shoots it. I was like, oh shit,
No, he shoots
let's
him,
go.
Mm.
He's shooting him. He's
It's cool
aiming
that
at him.
They just went for it.
Yep.
Even if it's not a real gun, I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, I'm with you. Like I feel like it's one of those things of like back in the day. It's funny because I was doing a video recently where I went through like the entire history of like Sonic's Metacritic and just how much people back then thought like stuff with the gun and the motorcycle and everything was stupid and bad. But like I feel like now over time in retrospect, people are like, well, that thing was fucking cool, and it's cool that they owned it and they're like, this is cool. And people do love this. And now it's become a point of everybody loves that aspect of Shadow, right? Of like just him having the motorcycle. Even him infusing it with chaos energy, I thought was such a good,
And you, like
smart
teleporting
way to
around
do
with
it.
was so cool.
Yeah, teleporting is so good, so good.
And it sure just hit off the Tokyo Tower vertically.
Right,
Dude,
right, right.
Yeah.
We're so spoiled because they showed it in the trailer, but like, and we've seen it so many times, but like, it will never not be cool to say that like Shadow did an Akira slide on the side of a building. You know what I mean? Like that is
Yeah.
that has to be like top 3 Akira slides ever. Like genuinely, I can't
Yeah.
think of ones
it's
that
so
do
good.
it better than that. You know, because most Akira slide references just do the slide, right? It turns, it's done, right? But here they like overdid it in the best way. It's crazy.
They worked it into another part of the scene where he just jumped
Yep.
off it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so good. And even just, I feel like this time around in this movie, Sonic's running scenes are so much more like the game. Like the way he like jumps on a wall into a spin dash through a car, like the dynamic camera, whether it's London or Tokyo, because those are 2 of the scenes where you really see Sonic running. I feel like the camera angles and movements were just so good. Very dope.
I'm trying to think like what other things in the movie I would have changed, because I do think for the most part, like barring the little dance sequence, which apparently a lot of people enjoyed,
Yeah.
I feel like this was as good of an adaptation as I possibly could have expected out of this.
I agree.
Mm.
They even worked in Chow's in a way.
Yeah, they did
Yeah,
work
even
in Chow.
in a way where it didn't
Yeah.
feel like, oh, okay, we're taking the time to stop the movie. Like the fact that they have
Yeah.
the commander have that conversation there, and then he straight up dies
Yeah.
in the
We
shower.
I
It's
think
crazy.
I think that's one thing I would change is like
Yeah. Same.
I'm
the
with
gun
you.
commander's death. Well, part of me doesn't feel like he's dead, but they're kind of played up like he is. But like the way he
Yeah,
just
I don't
goes
think he's
out
dead.
seemed kind of lame for this
I
character.
It was
ceremony
lame.
is-
It was.
Would've
It
changed
was.
him.
I will say his death was the most like almost like that was
Yeah,
the
for
most
sure.
like Sonic. That was the one where I was like, okay, like I couldn't like I remember Aru distinctly looking at me, you know, where it was like, are you serious? Because the way he dies, just like, Sonic, take this.
I think
Like,
right after that is actually when she fell asleep.
yeah. Hater
Drops
energy.
exposition, dies.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it should have been he was injured. I feel like them playing it as
Yeah.
his death made it more lame than him just like being like, just take this. I can't move right now.
I mean, obviously, the reason why they did that is like for that moment for Commander or whatever her name is to be surprised when
100%,
he is
yeah.
alive, right? And you have
Yeah.
Tom as him.
Yeah. I will say the only other thing I would change is it's like a small thing is like that scene in the anti-gravity chamber, I would say is like the least high stakes scene where it's very like everyone's just like, whoa, they're like flailing around the whole time until Sonic does the spin dash. But that's really it, you know? It goes on like a small bit too long, you know, that's it. But besides that, man, like I said, the movie's like fast paced, it's fun, it's got funny writing, it's got crazy action, it's good shit, man. I was so happy.
Out of all three, I think this is the one that I've actively wanted to rewatch the most.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
like
it's so
after
good.
this one, I don't
Definitely.
think I can watch the other two. I feel like this one is
Yeah,
like
there's
it's
so
just
much
so
I
by
get
Sonic
far
that.
better.
comparison.
Yeah,
combined
they're
of
so
the first
good,
two.
man.
Something
I
that I
think,
think is not brought up all that often is how good a lot of the shot composition is.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Just like
Oh, yeah,
yes.
definitely.
how a lot of the
yeah.
shots are framed and how clear
Yep.
everything is to see. Like even in the darker environments, like it's very clear seeing everything. I think a shot that stood out to me, this was right near the beginning of the film, is when you have Shadow in the container and he has that little flashback and he's like reaching out for
Yes.
Maria's hand and then it snaps
Oh,
to
yeah.
the point where he's just in the capsule, slightly moving his hand in
Yep.
that same position. I thought, wow, okay. So
Oh,
that's what
dude,
they're doing. They're cooking
This-
already.
This movie is full of like screen like desktop worthy shots, like stuff like
Oh, for
that, or
sure.
stuff like when he has the flashback with Maria, like, and the music from back then stops playing when he's like in the destroyed base. The moon shot, like the shot of just the eclipse cannon, even is insane. The moon shot, like Sonic and Shadow sitting on the
Yeah,
moon with
sitting
the
on
light
the moon was
shining.
beautiful.
The fucking
Yeah.
the super dap up, like that shit is glorious. Like all the shots, obviously they do even the moon shot. Just like, yeah, I feel like this time around they went with a lot more like just really pretty and cool shots. Yeah, the shot when he lands on the moon after the uppercut, even every so
I
many
mean, that
shots,
shot
man.
too. That shot in the ruins when Shadow's floating up in the sky and does that thing where it's
Yes.
like, what's his name again, Tom?
It's
And you
angelic.
get that long wide shot, right, with like
Yep.
Supersonic having slammed into the ground
Yep.
and him just like floating there like this.
Even-
Oh, it's great. So
Even
good.
like Sonic doing like the when Sonic like hits him and they do the 3 different camera angle like Dragon Ball thing, anime thing in general, right, where it does the shot 3 times is so good.
I even kind of liked at the first time I saw it because I had seen it at a press screener and then we saw it at the premiere.
Mhm.
The first time at the press screener when they do the SA2 pose where they like
Oh my
cross over
God.
each other was slightly too corny for me. But then seeing it the
No,
second
bro,
time
it's so
around,
good.
I was actually like, no, this is really nice. I
You
like
gotta do it.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a good pose. I think of all the SA2 poses, that's my favorite. I mean, Supersonic,
I mean, it's-
Super
yeah.
Shadow in that pose, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Fowler directed the trilogy, but he directed this movie. He really did. Him and Tyson Hess are really to thank, because Tyson especially is very hands-on, being like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I think Gerald
Absolute
was the
goat.
weakest part of the movie, since his motivations felt weak, since he didn't even make Shadow in this iteration. We got no scenes of him with Maria in the flashbacks. Like I said, I can kind of agree with that. I do like when he goes full super villain mode, where he's like, "You're no Maria,"
Yeah, that's
and
like such a
he's
dagger.
willing to die.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The You're No
Stuff like
Maria
that
line
is
was
good.
great. But I
Yeah.
almost wish there was more of that, right? Like
I
you
agree.
get that moment where he's in the prison cell, right? And you see like the scratches that are very clearly the
Yeah.
same background, like from that iconic moment before Final
Yeah.
Story in SA2, right? Where he's like about to get murdered and he's sitting changed up on the chair. Is there anything you'd like to say? And he goes, no, and you hear the gunfire shots. I wish there was a little bit more of that tone, at least
Yeah.
after you get the full villain heel turn, right? Which is, I think, why that moment with like the mantis arms would have actually even worked fine for me, like midway through the movie. But the fact that it happens at the ending, when the tone is already shifted, you get that beautiful moment on the moon, you get like Supersonic and Super Shadow, already the world's about to end, and it hard cuts to that, is a big reason why that stands out. But if Gerald would have still been like threatening and scary in that ending portion, I don't think it would have stood out as much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It's what bothers me is that Glee interrupts. Yeah, I agree. The super fight interruption can be a bit of a bitch. I do think like upon rewatch, it's not as like crazy, because it's Supersonic and them like do their thing, they fight, and then when they start flying over to them, they do the Eggman thing, and then it shows like Gerald seeing them and summoning the egg bots. Yeah, I feel like Twitter makes it seem longer, but I feel like upon rewatches, it's really not
It is
that
quick.
intrusive.
I
Yeah, it
agree.
is quick.
Yeah.
And I think the tonal shift is on purpose, right? You get like the rawest moment, and then you get like Gerald spanking Eggman,
Yeah, the cut to that
I
was
will
definitely
not
very weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then you hear "Live and Learn," da 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 da, and then it's immediate giant robot hands slapping his ass. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
hard
kind of
cut
agree
to
with
the
Nico.
spanking is very bizarre. Yeah.
I hope in the fourth one they go even crazier with like the lyrical songs, if they can get the rights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Or even just some of the more like iconic background tracks from other Sonic games, right? Like some of the Zone music.
All I know
Yeah.
is if they're doing Metal Overlord, I need What I'm Made Of.
For sure.
No interruption. I need that blasting
Yeah.
the entire scene.
The must songs, or like tracks, at least for movie 4, is you need a version of Amy's theme, like the da 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 da. You need that.
Yep,
You
yep.
need Metal's theme, right? Like you need
Oh,
like
for sure.
dun 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 dun. Dun. You need like the Stardust Speedway type.
But which,
I was
okay,
just
but
gonna-
which
Stardust
version? Do you want
Speedway
NA
for
or
sure.
JP version of Stardust Speedway?
I feel like the
I
most
just-
iconic one is the JP one, like
Yeah,
the
you
bad
need the
Fury
hey,
JP
hey,
one.
I
right?
agree, but I really started liking the NA one after the Forces remix of it.
Are good.
It is
I think
good.
You can't go wrong with like the Stardust Speedway Metal Sonic theme.
Why
And
not
yeah,
both?
what I made it feels like.
It is gonna be crazy though to hear a fully orchestrated dun 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 dun
Oh, dude, a
like,
sick
oh
chase
my
scene
god.
with that song. I feel like they could have fun with it. They could go like a full,
easily.
crazy like jazz orchestra with like dun 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 dun. Ah man, please.
My only
Uh,
question, I have
go
two
wrong.
questions.
I hope so.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Is also in relation to the stuff with Amy, since we're on the topic of like songs that need to be in the next movie. First
Yeah.
off, first question is, do you think, and you can answer both of these and we can go in like Discord order, who do you think is going to voice Amy? And for the voice of Metal Sonic, do you think it is going to be like a robot voice, or do you think they might actually even get a named person to voice Metal?
If we're doing Discord order.
Yes,
so-
yeah, you could start Fidel. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not good really with because like with Shadow it felt so obvious it's Keanu Reeves. With Amy, I don't know. Like I could see it being like Kimiko or Anna Kendrick maybe. Like I don't know. Maybe you know actors better than me, Roger. But like for me, I'm not well versed enough in like female voices to really Give it not
But when you-
if it's Aqua Effina, I'm literally gonna
No,
kill
no,
myself.
it won't
in
be.
front
It
of
won't be
everybody. It
Aquafina,
won't be.
guaranteed.
I will
When you
I
say-
will literally just die.
When you say Kimiko, who are you talking about? Like
That's,
from Waitress? Like the singer?
No, isn't it?
You mean the character from The Boys?
Yes,
the
yes.
actress?
Kimiko Glenn? Oh.
No, Kimiko
No.
the voice of Penny in Spider-Verse.
Oh,
Kimiko
she'd
Glenn,
be a
yes.
good Amy, actually. She'd be a really
Yeah.
good Amy. I kind
That'd
of
be a
love
really
that.
good Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the
I
only
would
things
rather
can
when
see.
you were talking about the metal thing, I would rather metal literally just be like a robot voice than have some
I
type
think
of
it is.
I don't really want like two celebrity voices. I
So-
think one will be enough.
Yeah.
So what I kind of want is Jaleel White for a throwback, like a super hard throwback to use Jaleel White.
Oh, that would
Oh,
be kind of cool,
damn.
actually. That would be sick. I
That'd be
take back what
cool.
I said. I'm going
But
with
he's
what
too
Garrett
like
said.
silly in his tone, you think, to
He
No,
doesn't
like-
have
he is
to
he is
be.
very good at range. Just like even like
Okay.
because you might be thinking like Steve Urkel, but then you think about how he does Stefan
Yeah,
Urkel,
that's
which
true.
is like much more
That's
serious.
true.
So like he
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
a more serious one, but I think that'd be just like a cool way to throw back to like the first time Sonic is voiced was Jaleel. And he's mentioned he wants to be in
Yeah.
the movies. He would like to be.
That would actually be
But
sick.
I don't think that matters because I think he's gonna have other forms. Some people were saying that like Malasai looks too one-to-one to the game, which like is a weird complaint. But I can get it to an extent. But
he looks
I think he's a
perfect. I feel
robot.
like,
He does look perfect,
how else are you
genuinely.
gonna do a robot? He looks so
Yeah,
good.
I agree. I mean, he literally looks.
I mean,
perfect.
I like that he looks more like Eggman's game design for Metal Sonic than they made him white and
Yeah.
looks like the eggs. I feel like him
Yes.
looking more like the game is much better.
Yeah, that could have been bad. There's another world where he would have looked like his egg bots. But I think he's perfect, man.
I'm
And
pretty
yeah,
sure he's
I
gonna change
think.
throughout the movie.
Yep. Exactly.
Also-
That's something was the music. He's gonna have his different forms. Because my thing was seeing the post credits. He's like now, like over time, my one concern is like, okay, Metal is gonna be more of a like a cooler situation where there's clones of him because it doesn't feel like he's like in Sonic OVA or Sonic CD, he's like the one Metal Sonic and he's
Yeah.
like a big threat himself. Whereas like Amy defeats a bunch of them. So
Yeah,
it
right,
feels
right.
like they just defeat him. And so I hope that they actually do some crazy thing to make one Metal Sonic a big threat. You know?
They
Just
kind of
Neo
have
Metal?
to. Yeah, like
Neo
or
Metal?
even they have with like Ultron in the Ultron movie
Yeah,
for Avengers,
that'd be
right?
kinda
You've
cool.
got like the Prime Ultron, but then there's all the other Ultron bots or whatever that take over.
'cause
I
think
kind of
they-
feel like the Metal Sonic bots that you see at the end of this movie are like
Yeah.
little mini bots, and that you've got the actual big one that's get. What is
Yeah.
that? Do you guys hear that, by the way? That alarm that's going off?
Yeah, well,
Also,
yeah.
to
I know
tie
you
back
heard
into the voice acting, I think Metal should have a robotic voice, but gradually get like a more defined voice actor as
I can
he
see that.
transforms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe like
more.
once he's like Neo Metal or something.
Yeah, he pulls out an actual
Yeah.
voice acting.
Yeah. They're also hard read. They have to do the line, right? They have to do the you may know everything that I'm going to do, but that's not going to help
Yeah.
you since I know everything you're going to
Yeah,
do too. I
if-
feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
I
gonna
want
be
the
there.
strange
Strange
incident.
isn't-
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
that.
That's got to be
Yeah.
there.
Ultimate reference to the first Sonic movie, technically.
Yeah,
Yep.
that one, and also want the. I really want Amy to say, "Have no fear, Amy Rose is here."
Yeah. That'd be
Oh
awesome.
yeah, for sure. That's
That'd
gonna
be
happen.
awesome.
most
Something
definitely.
like that. There's a lot they could do, man. It's gonna be good stuff. I am gonna dippy now, but
I also have to
uh,
dip because there's quite literally a fire alarm going off right now. So I'm
perfect.
gonna dip. That is yeah.
Yeah, love the
Stay
movie.
safe, Roger.
Obviously, I mean, I
Stay
think
safe,
they.
Roger.
Thank you
I
very
genuinely
much.
think they
Appreciate
cooked.
it, you guys.
Absolutely.
They did absolutely cook. All right, take care,
Hell
everybody.
yeah. Don't die. Peace.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Here we go.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I mean, you guys, any final thoughts since just the three of us for a bit about
Not really. I just the movie ruled. It was just a great movie, and yeah, I definitely want to see it again.
Yeah, I definitely want to go catch this again.
Shadow was indeed cool. I can't wait to see it. He's probably gonna be. Actually, I don't think he's gonna be that big prominent until later on in the fourth movie.
Yeah, I think that's true. He could have like a pretty big reveal where people, or when he like okay, back it up. He could come out at a really big moment and help. Because like one thing I thought of, we didn't even talk about this, is so Shadow kicks the Chaos Emeralds out of Sonic. I don't know if he kicks it out of him. He knocks it out of him. To my knowledge, the only time Shadow's done that was where Super Neo Metal in the comics. So if we're doing Metal Sonic, I think it's a very good chance we could get Super Neo Metal Sonic in something other than Roblox, please.
You know, I think Super. I kind of brought this up, but I think like Super Neo Metal is just going to be the main. I mean, that he's going to appear as the main strong Sonic,
Yeah.
Metal Sonic.
I think it's a
And he
good
will
way
be
of
the leader.
doing that, because if like with Metal Overlord he gets like Chaos's data, but I mean they could just do like a pseudo reference to how he gets that. But if they want to do another way, Super Neo would work really well. Okay, but that will wrap us up. Thank you guys for watching this roundtable for Sonic Movie 3. Definitely exciting to see where, you know, the series is going. Like I said, I think they're definitely on the right track, and they just need to really almost lean into the games more. It's cool to see that like we're in the period where for video game movies, finally, directors aren't being like, well, we know best, and just trying to force it to be their vision of it, and are leaning more into, well, what makes the games good, and let's either expand upon that or put a twist on that or something.
And I think we really didn't bring that up. How these movies, probably for the best thing they've done is influence probably movies to not, you know, try to be Hollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, because by God, I still wake up in a cold sweat every night thinking about how bad the Monster Hunter movie was, and how there was such a disconnect between people who played the games and people who didn't.
It's like that, and like I need to watch it still, but like the Warcraft movie, I've heard not so great things about that either. Yeah, it's funny that you know, Sonic getting an Avengers comparison, but Sonic the original movie switching from the ugly Sonic to this one was almost like the Iron Man for comic book movies, which actually put them in a light that people would enjoy them more and started making them more popular.
Yeah, yeah. It's so like once again, I said this. It's so surreal going back to that and how that's just like the most video game character in the real world, and now we're here with Shadow the Hedgehog having a Dragon Ball fight.
Yeah. I will say though, small aside, if you want to see that version of Sonic in action, there's a movie, there's a Chip and Dale movie on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
where he's in it and has a pretty decent role in it. That movie's actually pretty good. I would recommend it. I don't remember what the full title is, but I enjoyed it.
That movie was surreal.
All right, that will end it for today. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you both for joining. Thanks to Roger and Fidel as well. And we will catch you guys.
Fidel to get onto the show.
And we'll catch you guys next time.